I think their end goal is to find some way to reverse our freedoms and our rights to do the things that have been guaranteed us by our Constitution. And I think that our president in particular wishes to skirt his responsibilities and take advantage of doing what he wants without having legal permission worldwide and also in the United States. I think our forefathers would roll over in their graves knowing that we were rescinding as many rights to fight a war that is an unjust, immoral, and illegal war. And I think that there's a larger plan behind this. I think that the reason they're doing that is not just to protect this country or its people, but I think it's to control the people. I think it is in an effort to take freedoms away so that our people en masse don't know what's really happening, and they keep them in a state of fear. And if they're in a state of fear, they're easy to control.
The Founding Fathers pledged their lives and their fortunes and their sacred honor. I don't think it's too far of a leap to understand that your elected officials are certainly not going to pledge their lives. They're not going to pledge a penny of their fortune. And by these two, they demonstrate that they have no sacred honor. How many of your elected officials have sons or daughters that are serving in the Iraq War? I think you start to understand what's going on here. We, the people, are their cannon fodder. They have sent our sons and daughters to fight their wars so that they can have their spoils. This is what it's all about. It's imperialism and it's fascism. And some folks hear that and say, oh, you must be anti-patriotic or anti-government. I am not anti-government. This government is supposed to be of, by, and for the people. This government is supposed to be following the guidelines or the rule book, which is called the United States Constitution.
Here's where I think that we have the power, is that there are about 1,000 of politicians down in Washington, D.C. There are 200 million adults in this country. Why we are letting them get away with what they are, why we're not marching in the streets, why we are not actually down there physically extracting them from their offices and firing them. I mean, if we had employees in our individual businesses that were treating us like our government employees are treating us, they would be fired. They'd be out. We have come to this position in our thinking that they are the government and they are in control. And unfortunately, that old saying of the people get the government that they deserve, apathy and lack of participation has led to this particular point in time. And unless we do something to change that and reverse the tide and put the government back into the position where they should be, which is our servant and working for us, we're going to get the government that we deserve.
If there were any one thing that I could change, I think it would be to go back to a true constitutional form of government in which there would be true accountability. The problem we have right now is that the judicial system is not accountable. The executive system is not accountable. And so therefore we have a government run amok that controls its people with many, many regulations and laws, many of which are not constitutional. So to return to a constitutional form of government is an absolute. We have to do that. And without that, we have no hope.
Why are we so naive to think in this country that we have a government of, by, and for the people, when time and time again you look at the people that are in power and it's always the same families? I mean, look at the Bush family. I mean, we're talking a century now that family has been in power. And common sense also will tell you that if we have in this country public servants, the elected officials, they like to call themselves public servants. Well, common sense again. The governor lives in a governor's mansion, okay? The senators, the representatives, the president, elected officials, they all have chauffeur-driven limousines. A congressman or a congresswoman need only serve one term, and they get retirement for life. They have health insurance and benefits, and they have limousines. Wait a second, they're supposed to be the public servants, and yet they're living in mansions, and they go to work in great big hallowed halls of marble and glass. If they're the servants, and we're the masters, why are they living like kings, and the rest of us live like paupers? These are questions that are so basic and common, and yet no one ever asks these things. This is the structure that has been basically put into power and continues today, and the powers that be are not going to give it up without a fight.
First of all, you have to understand what is going on. Secondly, you have to learn how to present it to others. You've got to educate people. You'll talk to them, maybe they're not going to want to listen to you. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is to tell them the truth and try to get them to begin to think. Because as things get worse, and they are going to get worse, why we hope that down the line they're going to begin to remember what you say. And then I would honestly believe that we have to be active as far as the political process is concerned, realizing that the political process has been corrupted, that through the voting machines and through the control of the media, they are largely able to control the electoral process. But if we can start simply in one city, if we can start in one precinct or one district or one county or in one state, we can gradually begin to move towards taking America back.
Up until this century, the year 2000, if you didn't like what was going on, you just moved. You got away from it and started off again. Got your little house on the prairie and lived your own life. The problem today is there's no place to go. We're going to have to turn, and we're going to have to confront Big Brother, and we're going to have to struggle if we're going to maintain our individual liberty and freedom.
Unfortunately, with the technologies that are currently in place, in terms of the vaccine registries that are trying to be passed on a state-by-state basis to track people from cradle to grave, with the DNA types of tracking that is being implemented, with the RFID types of technologies that are being advanced in a huge agenda in a very rapid way, I fear that what could be coming 5 years down the road would be a show me your papers types of society, that you won't be able to move, you won't be able to travel, buy, sell, or trade, go to the grocery store, go see your doctors without being able to show your ID card, your RFID tag, something that gives some sort of complete identification that you are now bought, sold, and controlled by our government.